Hello and welcome to the All About Ability podcast. This podcast is sponsored by KO Financial, specialists in mortgages and protecting your family's finances. Whether you're looking for the best mortgage for you or want to make sure you and your family aren't struggling if you're seriously ill or pass away, call KO Financial on 0141 447 0290 or email advice@ko-financial.co.uk. I will include this information in the show notes. But it's just like, this is what Paul does every week. Like, I'm just sitting talking to somebody and he's like, we're recording, and I'm like, fuck's sake, I'm not ready yet.
Right, so we're allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can say anything you want to say. I don't really...
Right, that's good.
Why would you do
Should I take my
something?
chewing gum out? See, I don't know, I feel like a celebrity or something. Do you feel like a celebrity?
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. No, just like... well, I know, I suppose like the more you do it, the more you just kind of start thinking about how many people are actually listening to this.
Yeah, like I'm being watched.
what are what they're going to think. But like,
I know.
we try and, once you get into it, it's not, it's like you start.
Yeah, that was like when I was on my live, I was like, there's 20 people watching me make my dinner, I'm shiting myself. But I was saying those for 6 hours. So
I know, how did you do that for 6 hours? I can barely do this for an hour, never mind doing that for 6 hours.
By. Like, it just before I knew it was 2 a.m, I was like, I need to go to my bed. Like, I was procrastinating, not writing an essay.
Oh, right, okay.
I love how we've just jumped into this, we've not even said hi yet.
I know.
Not seen you since 2020. Oh no, what year is it? 2019. What the hell, I've not even smoked a joint.
No.
That was quite bad. No, you've not seen you since 2020.
No, I know. We actually met to speak about what we're going to talk about in this.
Yeah.
And it's kicked off a bit more wild than a...
More wild. I know, I've actually been preparing for this. Well, not even been preparing. We've been planning it for like 6 months. I'm still don't feel prepared. Don't know what to talk about.
I know, but that's one of the things you realise when you're doing it. It's like you can prepare a lot of the time, but sometimes you just end up talking about something completely different than what you thought you were going to talk about.
Unrelated.
Exactly. But I feel like I should introduce you in some way. So like...
Hi.
I feel like I know you.
I'm Plant Mom.
You're Plant Mom. But every time I go to call you Plant Mom, I think about Vegan Freak first.
I know, but I get rid of that. But that's a whole other story. You can talk about that if you want.
Right, okay.
I get rid of the Vegan Freak. I get rid of the vegan's not in my name anymore.
Is that like a branding thing? Like when KFC
I would say it's a branding thing.
Aye.
Yeah.
When they start calling KFC just KFC and not Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was like
I'm not sure.
Like mind how they started doing that thing where they... I don't know if is this real? Is this true?
I should know that if it's about branding.
It was like they called it. I mean, it was always Kentucky Fried Chicken, but I'm pretty sure they just call it KFC. They don't call it that anymore. The actual name is just KFC itself.
KFC. Oh, there you go.
But
everybody knows it's.
What a weird thing to bring up in comparison to you saying you're...
I know about being vegan. I know. No, I took the vegan out my name. I'm not even. Yeah, I would say it is a branding thing because I got hacked. Do you remember? And there's people trying to get money for everybody and whatever, so I thought it's just a good time to change my name. But I wanted to change my name for ages anyway, because I just felt like it was as if it was only for vegans and it had negative connotations. But the reason I took that name anyway was because that's what they used to call me in McDonald's. They're like, oh, you're just a wee vegan hippie freak. That's what they used to call me.
Just embraced it.
Just embraced it. But then I got rid of it because I thought there's a lot of problems with veganism as well. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people don't like it and whatever, but I just want to encourage a nice, healthy life. You don't need to be vegan to do that, but obviously vegan is the way forward on it. But you don't. It's because there's that, like, people think it's black and white. You're either vegan or you're a mad murderer. And it's like, that's not actually how it is. And even if you are vegan, you're still contributing to bad. So just shut up. So there you go.
Well, because a lot of vegans can't really acknowledge that though as well, what you just said now.
Yeah, it's so easy, but like, see, when you go vegan, it's so easy to become a Karen about it because you see so much stuff that nobody else knows and you think, fucking hell, like, I like, everybody needs to save the world and go vegan, but then you start learning other things and then you're like, there's actually a lot of other problems here as well that you need to sort first. So I don't know, I've stopped, I wouldn't say I've stopped identifying as a vegan. I've stopped speaking about being a vegan so much, like just be plant-based.
Aye, so that's why
because it's impossible to be vegan. It's impossible to be vegan, and so many like mad militant vegans will just like attack you for stuff, and it's like, well, I'm doing more than most. Like for something like, say, like I'm wearing leather shoes right now, but I've had them for 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point in going and buying new stuff? Like, it was all about, I don't know, I think it depends on your reasoning for being vegan, if it's for the animals or the environment or whatever. I do it for a multitude of reasons.
Well, why don't we go through them then a little bit? Like, what are your reasons for being vegan?
Well, I first started it. Well, I went Right, so I tried to go vegetarian a few times and failed because I'm just a pure grubber, like I always have been. And then I did it for Lent. I gave up red meat, and then the next year I went vegetarian, and then the next year I went vegan for Lent. And then when I went vegan for Lent, I stuck with it. And then I kind of went backwards as well. I went veggie again, and then I went vegan again. But I went vegetarian first. So I was trying to like wean myself off. And I was like trying to become a new person and whatever, like full awakening, like so much had happened. I denounced myself for religion, became a vegetarian, chopped my hair up, broke up with my long-term boyfriend, told all my pals to fuck off. Basically just had a meltdown, but like in a good way, and I was just a new person. And then I became a vegetarian, and then I went vegan for Lent, and then I stayed vegan when I went to the farm. So then I genuinely fully thought that I was going to go back to being a vegetarian, but I was just kind of like I was basically veggie, but you know, it's hard, you know what I mean? Like, I'd have a bit of chicken or something, but I wouldn't do that now. But I fully thought that I would go back to eating cheese and whatever else, but I just thought, no, I love this. I want to keep doing it because I noticed the difference. Like going to the gym and stuff like that. Like, and obviously you're a pure tank in the gym. You would actually out gym me right now, and I see myself as a gym girl, but not right now. Like, not right now. But how was your plant-based thing going on?
Yeah, I did that, and so I did it all of January.
Right, good for you.
And I'll admit that I fell at the wagon a wee bit.
Oh, did you?
But because it was good. Like I did feel like a change, but I felt like it was because of the fact that I went from like, when you're eating bad, like when you're not vegan and you're just eating shite, and then you go vegan and you're eating well.
Yeah.
Like that was what the big difference was. It was actually it was going vegan was a big part of it, but it was also like the fact that I was eating more veg and more.
Yeah,
stuff.
Exactly. Like that's the same as me. Like I think I went vegan because so I worked at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And I was getting chubby because I was addicted to chicken selects. Like every time I walked by, I was just eat a chicken select, like honestly. And then I thought, right, fuck this. Like I need to just cut out meat altogether because I'm actually addicted to chicken selects and double cheeseburgers. Like you can't be eating 3 double cheeseburgers every day. Do you know what I mean? Like that is not good. So I thought, right, fuck this. I'm going vegan. And then I did the vegan for Lent and I loved it. And then I stayed with it and I lost tonners of weight. And I was like, well, I'll be definitely be staying with this then. And then my first reasoning wasn't really for the animals, it was for, I can't really actually remember, but I remember I was sitting, so it was with my ex-boyfriend, we were at a birthday party, at like a family gathering, and I was like, all right, I'm going vegan, and they all just kind of laughed at me, and they were like, no, you're not, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it, and they were like, well, there's nothing vegan here, but they're veggie, so there's veggie food, and I was like, right, well, fine, I'll go veggie first, and they were like, oh, ask me, like, why do you want to go vegan and stuff like that, and I was like, I've just seen a lot of stuff, like, we were so unhealthy, like, at that time in my life, I was so unhealthy, but I went to the gym and that, but I didn't know anything about nutrition, I didn't know anything at all, really. I was just wondering why I was not losing weight when I went to the gym, but it was because I was eating a lot of shit. But I gave up meat altogether because then I thought, I can't eat kebabs or burgers or nothing like that. You can now, But my sister did, she went vegetarian for January. So wait, did you go vegan or veggie?
Vegan.
Oh, well done, good for you. She went veggie for January and she was like, what the hell, I thought it was supposed to be healthy being a vegan. And I was like, it was. Like, it did used to be, but now there's just so much stuff, like, it's hard, it's so hard to say no to all the stuff, but I started, like, I actually went to the doctors because I lost that much weight, and I was like, doctor, I'm worried, like, I've never been fat, but I've always I went to the gym and I struggled to lose weight. Like I would put on weight and need to go to the gym to keep it off. Do you know what I mean? And I went to the doctors and I was like, I'm so skinny. Like I was 9 stone and I'd never been that heavy, like since I was about 13 or something. And they were like, well, what have you been eating? And I told her, I was like, just been eating like couscous and sushi. And she was like, well, do you not think that's why then? And then she just basically told me, you've lost weight because you've been eating well. And I was like, there you go then. I was like, I suppose I'll just keep eating well then. But yeah, I didn't really do it for the animals or anything like that at first. I just done it because I'd heard it was healthier and heard about plant-based diet and all that. So then I tried it and then I loved it. And then I learned about animals and watched a couple of documentaries and then I just couldn't unlearn what I learned. I was like, shit. I was like, I can't. Like, it does stay in your conscience. But then people say, like, especially when you're arguing with people on the internet, will say, well, I've been to a slaughterhouse and it doesn't affect me. And I'm like, right, first of all, you're lying. Like, nobody, like, that's not true. But, thingy, I couldn't unlearn what I learned because it stayed in my conscience. But people say, well, I love animals and whatever, but I used to say that. Like, I love animals. And it's not that you don't love animals, but you actually do. Something changes in your brain, like something switches, like you awaken. Because you see things on a global scale. Like, have you watched Cowspiracy?
No, I've not watched it fully. I've heard of it though.
I'm scared to watch the new one that came out yesterday, Seaspiracy. I'm actually scared. Because, see, right now, I'm actually in a good place with veganism and all that. Like, I feel good about life, whatever. But I know if I go and watch that, I'll be raging again and I'll be a Karen on the internet. It does actually enrage you. But that's why I can only like to talk about it in like a positive light, do you know what I mean? Because like, see when people start talking about like, you're a murderer and all that, and you're like, that's regressive, do you know what I mean? That's not progressive at all. Like, you're not, like, that's not how I went. I didn't go vegan because people were shouting in my face, yo, you're a murderer, you need to go vegan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I just try and show people how like healthy it is and how delicious food can be and whatever. And like, even like with fashion and that, like, try to be more sustainable, but people like to nitpick and to say, oh, but you do this, you've got a wooden wardrobe that would get killed in orangutan or whatever. It's like, by nature, the world is not vegan, but you can do. That's why I've took vegan out my name and stuff like that, because there's too many opportunities for people to nitpick and say you're not a vegan. So I would say that I'm vegan. Like, I like all the values and whatever, like, they are like my belief system and stuff like that. But there's some things that it's not black and white, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of grey areas, like things, especially in fashion. Like, I would 100% say wear second-hand leather than buy something new. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a whole other issue is with the fast fashion industry. So
there's so much to go through.
So much.
It was so quick then. I was like, man, I need to get a co-host or something for this. No, but I like what you're saying about the idea that do you not think that everyone sees there's always an extreme group in every group? So how people, there's like a section of vegans as there is like a section of every kind of group that just takes it too far. It's like,
I don't know, because see, like, sometimes I try and look at everybody's point of view and see the actual extreme vegans. I agree with them, but I just don't think that's the way to go about it. Like, I 100% agree with a lot of what they're saying. Like, what they're saying is true, but you can't, that is not the way that you went vegan, so why you try to get other people to go vegan like that? It's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? And especially like people who are bully vegetarians. And it's like why, like, most vegans went veggie before they went vegan, so why are you even, like, they act as if you've not had, 20, 30, 40, like, I have so much respect for older vegans, because think about how much conditioning they've had. Like, they've seen farming go from, like, kind of small family farms and all that to, like, global shit. Like, my mum's always like, what the hell, the food these days is just too good. Like, the food doesn't used to be like this. It's just addictive. Like, but I was actually watching a thing when I was waiting earlier. I can't remember the guy's name. He's an American guy. He does a lot of, like, speaking, and he's such a good speaker. Like, and he was like, oh, well, you got a burger and put more meat on it, extra meat, extra cheese, extra, like, everything's just about putting extra everything. But that's like a full capitalist thing, isn't it? And, like, greedy society. But then somebody actually asked me the other day on TikTok, do you not think it's bad that veganism's been exploited for capitalist profit? And it's like, well, yeah, but what can you do? Like, it's a capitalist society. Like, you'd obviously rather people were starting vegan businesses than not vegan businesses. But I wish there was more, like, programs in place to help farmers go plant-based. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I really like that because it's the idea that like you're trying to put it across in a way that's actually going to accomplish what you're looking to accomplish from it, rather than like people say things and it's like you're not. None of what you just said there is going to make that person do.
It just makes you angry.
Exactly.
It just like I think it's a big problem in the vegan community. Is a lot of vegans against other vegans, and it's like you're not even working together to get people to do. I don't know. Like it's so that's why I've stopped saying like I'm a vegan, took vegan out my name and things like that. Like it's just people don't like it. Some people do like it, some people don't like it. But then I think it's like, see, especially if you're starting a business or something, it's really hard to pinpoint like how to market a vegan business, like who you're going to target, vegans or everybody. But I don't know, it's one of those, it's an emerging market into it, but it's only getting bigger and I'm going to dominate it.
Of course. I mean your page is doing really well. Like you put out some great stuff.
Yeah.
Like, where did the actual idea come about to actually like post about where you get your food and like making the food and showing people, like you do reviews and things like that? Like made you
basically I couldn't stop posting pictures of my dinner and everybody says you should make a food page, so I made a food page. And then I realised quite quickly actually that brands were going to send me stuff to promote, and I was like, right, I'm an influencer. So now that's what I want to do. Like I don't know how my TikTok is just, TikTok is not went big because of veganism at all. Yeah. Nothing to do with, well, the first video that went viral was vegan. That was the Kunso coconut dough video. Do you know what I'm talking about? That was the one that I went from like about 10 followers to 7,000 followers, and I was like, what the hell?
What?
And then I know it was crazy. And then just for there, it's just kind of built, but it's not really. People don't care about it on there, not really. But then on my live, people were asking me a lot of questions about veganism and all that, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Like that's actually people that are actually interested, but people just like, you use TikTok, yeah?
See, to be honest, I just made a TikTok for this the other day.
Oh, did you? I'll need to go follow it.
I've not posted it yet, but the reason why I've stayed off it for so long is because of the fact that I'm so. I can just see myself being pure scrolling on it all day, every day.
Yeah. I'm hyper aware of that. Like, see the now, well, actually, I think because I'm sat with people and we're talking, I don't really care about that social media world, right? But see if I was sitting myself, like yesterday I was sitting typing a essay, and I was actually scared in case somebody comments something bad on my video. Because people are ruthless on TikTok. They're so bad. Like, people actually have some nerve on there, but they don't. The vegan on TikTok, I don't know, like I need to try and put more veganism or plant-basedism into my TikTok, because that's not why I've got hundreds of followers on TikTok. That's just because of being stupid, like stupid videos that people think's funny. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But on Instagram, I'm trying to grow the Instagram, but it's actually doing quite well. Like, people have actually sent me stuff in that, and it's so fun. Like, it's just, like somebody had said to me, I was just starting to post like pictures of food and all that, and then there was another girl I knew that done it as well, and she was like, oh, the goal is to be sent free food, and I was like, ooh, I never even thought of that. Like, I was just wanting to post my food, but then I realised, and then quickly people started asking questions. I got these pizzas last week and they were banging, actually so good. Did you see them?
I was wondering where you got them, man. They look
vegan
sensational.
So good, right? And I swear to God, right, I have never been paid to do it, right? And I do brutal reviews. Like, I'll tell you, I've told people your stuff's good, and I've told people it's shite. But then how is it going to get better if you don't tell them it's shite? Do you know what I mean? So I'm quite passionate about giving honest reviews, right? These pizzas, honestly, the first time in years that I've actually had a pizza and thought, wow, like that's a pizza. I was an actual real pizza, and it was such a good pizza. It's like really like authentic and like Italian. The base was just amazing, and I was eating it with my pal, and even he was saying like, what the hell, that's so good. Like, and he's like a very chicken nugget and chips kind of guy. Do you know what I mean? But these pizzas were just stunning. Like, oh, they were just amazing. And then they gave me 2 ready-made, and then they gave me 2 to cook myself, and you just put them in the oven for like 5 minutes. And I took one home to my mum, and my mum was even like, oh, and my mum's quite a weird eater as well, like, and they were just, honestly, I can't recommend it enough. I was like, I will 100% buy that again. And I seen there's a vegan pizza drive-through, but it's a way past Balfron. So it's like towards Loch Lomond, but I work in Strathblane, so I can go after work.
Right.
So excited. So, yeah.
No, you make me hungry now, man.
Do you know I've not had it in tea? I'm starving. I didn't think that you were just going to like lights, camera, action. now I'm on a podcast.
That's how it works, kind of thing. I mean,
I was planning on tucking my socks into my boots, and now I'm already being filmed.
This is honestly, Paul will tell you, every podcast we do, anytime he starts recording it, I'm never like ready to go right that second, but I always end up talking about something else and then we start and he has to cut it or something. But you just kind of get used to the idea that once everything's set up, you just go like. See, even with like when John Harrison came in the other day, like I felt like I needed like half an hour to process that you were saying.
I know.
And then it was like, but before I knew it, like we just were talking and it was recording, and I was like, all right, okay.
I know, it's so class. Do you know you have actually got some people on this like really good. Like you've grown that so fast. Like I actually feel, but I don't know how to describe how I feel. But you ask me for tips on how to do social media, and I'm like, no, you give me tips because you've grown so quickly. Like so fast, but then you are doing something like really valuable. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it was kind of. Thanks. I mean, that's very nice to say. Like, I'm Paul's a big part of that. To be fair, Paul helps me a lot with a lot of stuff, and my thing was because I remember when we talked the first time, I was like, I want to make this bigger. I want to get these people on, and
yeah, that was such a good day. Like just chatting about like good, valuable stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it's all about. Like, see what you're saying about not wanting to put right into the vegan bracket too much, and you could be able to like expand on things. My thing was that I didn't want the whole thing to be like had to be about disability and mental health only. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like the point isn't that I'm in a wheelchair. The point is that you shouldn't see that I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So do you
know actually see since
do you know what I mean?
Meeting you and being pals with you, I've actually learned a lot about disabled people that I wouldn't even have thought before. Like I watched this programme, can't remember what it was called, but it was basically a documentary about the history of disabled people, and I was actually shocked. I was like, what on earth? I was like, what the hell? Like why is that even, like why is nobody talking about that? And it wasn't until I actually started speaking to you that I actually started realising, like looking through the perspective is not that you're not meant to be a part of society, it's that society's not built for you. Do you know what I mean? But society's built against you, and it's not fair. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about making things more accessible.
Exactly, and I remember telling you that, and I remember you being like, oh, and it was something I wasn't even, because see, for the longest time I thought it was my fault. That's how unknown that is though, is that even people that are disabled are a lot of us are stuck in this mindset of it's our fault. Yeah. Because we're so pushed against it, it's like it's almost easier to say it's your fault than try to fight this mammoth. Yeah,
like you're apologising for like who you are, basically.
Exactly.
Which you would never do.
And we're really, in 2021, we're the only people that are really like we don't have a voice or a fight against it. Like you see every sort of situation, there's bad things happening all the time, but at least those bad things are getting discussed.
Yeah.
Whereas with disability, it's not even in the stratosphere of the discussion that you have to be like, hold on a minute here.
I like we're here too.
Aye, like because
it's very misunderstood, isn't
it? Yeah, and even that whole idea, like I said, like having to learn that for myself, the idea that it wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? It's not. Yeah. If somebody treats me like shit for being in a wheelchair, that's not my fault. That's because we present it in a way that's this vulnerable, you can't do anything way. And even when you've got guys like
no, you you're a mad tank.
But that's what the whole point of it is to be like anybody can do anything really. And see, even you're saying about the whole like you had this kind of awakening and you were going through all this stuff and then you realised that you wanted to be it's like see something like that, see the idea of feeling a certain way about yourself in your life and then being able to see it differently by being like able to look at yourself and acknowledge these things and work on yourself.
Yeah, self-awareness is key.
Like that in itself is what all about ability means, is what I'm trying to make it mean, in the sense of like it's not just about disability, it's like the idea that we all have things to figure out, and once you're able to focus on the things that you're able to do, you could be able to figure that out more.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean?
There's such this idea of like perfectionism. It's not sustainable and it's not achievable. So there's no point in it. Like I'm actually very hyper aware right now that of like my position. Do you know what I mean? Like, see, like what 3-4 years ago, whatever, when I was having this mad awakening, I stopped being religious and started being spiritual. I was in a much better place. No. I would say that I was in a very similar place then than what I am now. Like, you do things that you're scared of. Like, see, at that time when I was like changing as a person, like, it was definitely like a butterfly moment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was purposely doing things that I was scared of because I was reading a lot of like spiritual texts and things like that. And it's kind of that analogy of the caterpillar, and it's painful to break through, but you need to do it to become the butterfly. And anything that I thought was going to harm me, I would just kind of switch my mindset and thought, right, fuck, this is scary, I'm going to do it. Right, because I've done 3 scary things there and something good's come from it. And I did that again, like, see, leaving my job, see, when I worked at McDonald's, worked there since I was at school, hated it because the more vegan I got, the more I hated it, obviously. I know it's so bad, but I was so scared to leave it, and then I finally left it. And I'm like, thank fuck. Like, thank fuck. Like, because even if you're at like a risky situation, like, just always take a risk. Like, always 100%, because you always end up in a better situation. And I'm quite hyper aware right now that I'm in a situation like that right now where I've got choices to make, and I'm like, can I just stay here, or there's all these other choices that I can go out and grab? And I'm kind of in a position like that right now where I'm doing things that are scaring me, like, just because I know there's something good. Like, because even if you don't succeed or whatever, then just do it again. Just you'll succeed next time. Doesn't matter. You can't learn you can't learn from your mistakes if you don't make them.
Exactly, and it's this idea that you can't make mistakes is the problem.
Yeah, when you definitely can. Like, that's the other thing. Like, people, I try and be quite transparent, but people will judge you for things, and it's like, well, you're too shite bag to even say you made a wrong decision. Do you know what I mean? You're too shite bag to even admit it. Whereas I'm coming forward and saying, right, I fucked up, I've done this wrong, blah, blah, blah. Also, here's how I'm going to fix it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's much braver than, like, hiding from it.
Yeah.
Then everybody hides from things. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody turns a blind eye to things that they've done wrong, or what other people have done wrong.
I mean, the problem is that you get, I remember being like that, where you just get defensive.
Yeah, defensive. I used to be very defensive. I still am. But I used to kind of have this, I used to be quite, like, I could do no wrong. Do you know what I mean? Whereas see, I look back now and I'm like, I've done a lot of wrong. Whereas now I'm like, I'm actually willing to do wrong. Do you know what I mean? I'm willing to do wrong to do better. Do you know what I mean? See, when it comes to like spiritual things as well, but see, when I was on my live the other night, they would not let me go. Right? They just wouldn't let me go, and they were wanting me to talk about spiritual things. And I was like, I don't even post spiritual content anymore. Like, I post stupid content. But I used to post a lot of spiritual content. And I was just kind of saying, like, I don't feel like I'm in a position to share right now. Like, I'm doing a lot of practicing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing a lot of unlearning and relearning, because I realised that, like, see, with like New Age spirituality and all that, there's a lot of like colonisation, cultural appropriation, things like that. And I want to be a yoga teacher, but I don't want to be a yoga teacher for exercise purpose. That's just one very small part of it. And I had realised that everything that I know is like everything that I don't want to be. So like, I feel like right now I'm doing a lot of like unlearning everything that I know to relearn it so that I can be authentic. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'm willing to make a mistake. I'm willing to ask a question that might offend somebody so that I can then apologise and say, right, well, I'm willing to learn about it. Do you know what I mean? Because like, you can't help like your conditioning or your education, whatever. Like, you don't really choose that. Do you know what I mean? But when you become aware of it, then you can fix it.
Well, I mean, it's so accurate what you're saying. Like, I'm listening to it, and I'm like,
so hard to see it's so hard to talk about things with words when it's something that you feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that is what, because people say to me like I can write things well, right? And
write things well.
Yeah, like they always say, oh, you whenever I put something out that's like something personal, whatever, they'll say you wrote that really well, and I'll say...
Yeah, I think you're really good with words.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, really good with words.
I didn't mean to give myself a pure compliment. There's a point to this, right?
No, I know, but it's true. We should be complimenting yourself.
But the point is that when I write these things, it's not so much, it's like, I don't even, like, it's just like, I'm able to put how I feel about something in the words.
Yeah, you're just expressing it.
But like, sometimes when I write things, I'll finish it and I'll be like,
that doesn't make sense.
Where the fuck did that come from? Like sometimes it won't make sense, but sometimes I'll be like, that was spot on the money.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you just say what you feel, and you're like, that is exactly.
It just kind of follows through, and then you read it back, and you're like, oh, this is quite good that I'm able to do this.
But writing actually helps. Like, see, a lot of people, like, it doesn't matter what you're feeling, if it's like stress, if it's happiness, anything at all. Write it down, and you start making sense of it. Like, I always write letters to nobody.
Because it gives your mind like that chance to sort of mess you about a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
If you don't let yourself...
Because if you write something, you think, oh no, that's not right, and then you change it. Do you know what I mean? You're thinking about things. I don't really know the words to explain it, but it's hard to explain your feelings. Like, see that Billy Connolly thing where he's like, there's no words in the English language to explain fuck off. It just means fuck off. You know what it means? Like, do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain things that you know what it means, but you don't actually have the words to express it.
But that's what it seems like where all the conflict comes from, is this inability to sort of communicate. But firstly, before that, is actually knowing how you feel and knowing and being in tune with that.
Yeah, that's true.
You're obviously very in tune with how you feel about things.
Sometimes.
But like, but even being able to acknowledge, like, sometimes I'm not, it's still being in tune with the fact that you know.
Yeah, well, I would say so.
You know
I
feel
like, confused a lot of the time.
Whoa.
I don't know what I feel.
Because it's like there's so many different things, and people are. But what you're saying about going for things that are like not in your comfort zone.
I think sometimes people don't want to admit their feelings. They don't want to admit they're scared. Whereas I'm shite myself. Like, really, like, help me. But
that is a big thing about it, is actually being able to be like, you know, because what you're saying about the whole idea of being able to look at what is easy for you and what's not, and trying to do things that will make you think about things differently.
Yeah.
Is you don't really get taught that really anywhere.
You don't get taught really anything valuable in school.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of come out with this big worm of things to figure out yourself.
Yeah, definitely. You don't get taught things you need to know. You don't get taught about life. Not really. You get taught history. History's pretty valuable, but that's about it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that is the thing, like, because even as you're saying that, like, one of the things that sprung to my mind, and I don't know if I've told this story before, I probably have, right? But see, actually, like, the whole idea of, like, disability and my whole thing, right? One of the things that helped me was that, like, you realise that, how am I trying to put this? I'm trying to think about the way to put this, is everything became hard. So, like, the things that were supposed to be easy were becoming really hard, and because I wasn't doing anything. So, like, if I'm not running anywhere, obviously, right, and I'm not moving about at all, and then I'm just eating anything I want and drinking a big load of stuff. But one of the big reasons for that was because I was like, well, I've got this sort of built-in reason to be like this, because if I just become some like overweight guy that doesn't do anything, it's like some like overweight alcoholic basically was where I was going. You know what I mean?
Peter Griffin.
Basically, right? Everyone would just look at me and be like, "Oh, the reason why that guy's like that is because he's in a wheelchair." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's true.
And like
people would think that.
Exactly. So like that's what was in my head, is that I could just do anything because nobody thought I could do anything anyway. Do you know what I mean? So what was the point of trying? Was because everyone just thought that, like, I thought I was allowed to do that. So I kept just doing that. But what happened to me was basically this scenario where nothing was enjoyable anymore, because it was all difficult. It was all really hard. See, even just getting on my chair and all that, I would get on the chair and just be sweating.
Like sluggish, But did you feel like, because one thing was bad in your life, you just think, fuck it, I'll just let the rest of it go?
I like, everything was a mess, but it all came back to the idea that I thought that this was what I was told by the world that this was what my life was going to be like. And so I was just embracing the fact that I was a fuck up, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only reason why
you laugh about it, but I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's a pure deep thing to say. But it's just like, because that's why what you said there is so true though, because I got really like kind of unwell mentally by thinking I could do the easiest things all the time. And what happens then is the easy things become really hard. So like when people say, I don't want to go and do a workout because it's going to be really hard to do that. But what I'm trying to say is that hardness that you feel is going to happen the other way anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, see if you just let yourself go and don't do anything and just like let it all go to shit.
That's going to be hard.
Exactly, that's going to be hard as well. There's nothing.
Yeah, life is hard.
Exactly.
Like life is like, obviously perspective's everything, but you're always going to have hardship in life. Like there's always, like, have you ever heard the saying, as above, so below? Like basically everything is everything. There's a good, for every good there's a bad, for every up there's a down, every black there's a white. It's not like, everything is balanced.
Exactly. Like,
it's about finding a balance. Well, everything's unbalanced is the problem. Do you know what I mean? But it's about finding a balance. Like there's always going to be hardship in life, no matter what.
Well,
no matter like how much money you've got, how much friends, family, however happy you are, you're always going to run into hardship. But then obviously there's the law of attraction on it, so.
But that's what
a whole other.
There's a law of attraction.
Whole other branch.
Because see that on that note, I think one of the problems as well is the fact that we're not. Everyone wants this sort of guide to life as if it's like, is there not a utopia where everything you figure everything out and it's all easy now, but nobody's actually saying the truth, and the truth of the matter is.
One thing I think is actually interesting, and I read it in, I think it was the Untethered Soul I read it in. I can't remember, but that's an amazing book. Every single human should read that. See, when you realise your own death, you just don't give a fuck anymore. See, when you come to terms with the fact that you're going to die one day, you're not going to live forever, you stop caring. Like, but it's one thing saying it, I know I'm going to die one day, but then see when you actually, like, meditate on it or something, like, actually realise it, like, that you're not going to be here, you could die in a minute, like, I could die in a second. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no actual rules to life. There's, like, it doesn't matter, nothing matters. Like, literally nothing matters. What was I going to say there? Yeah, when you realise that you're, like, immortal or whatever, like, you stop giving it, like, I couldn't give a fuck, like, see when you spill a glass of wine, right, on your pal's white carpet, and they're like, oh, it's fine, and how much weight does that take off your shoulder? Because initially you're like, oh my god, I've spilled red wine on the carpet, but they've said it's fine, so it's absolutely fine. But then how bad is it when you spill red wine and you're like, shit, and then they're like, oh my god, you've just spilled red wine on my carpet? I heard this thing, and it was basically like the universe or God or whatever you believe in, right? The universe is always saying it's fine. It doesn't actually matter. Like, because you're going to die anyway. Like, it doesn't actually matter. Like, it's not actually that important what just happened, no matter how big or small it is. Yeah. And it took me a wee while to kind of, like, grasp it. And I was like, I don't know, because what about, like, things like regret? Like, I really struggle with regret. And it's like, it doesn't matter, because if that didn't happen, that wouldn't happen, butterfly effect, nothing would have happened. It doesn't actually matter. So, like, I was talking about this to my family the other day, and we're, like, getting worried about me. And I was like, no, I don't want to die. I just don't care if I do. Like, it doesn't, like, life, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you believe after life or whatever. Like, I don't actually know what I believe happens after life, to be honest. But I don't think, like, just because your body dies doesn't mean your body's going to die anyway. Do you know what I mean? There's so much afterlife.
See, that's such a, like, I mean, it's...
I sound like I've taken DMT or something, which I've not.
See, like, okay, where to start with that? So I don't know,
but see, I struggle to talk about things when I'm not high, right?
I know.
But see, if I had a glass of wine, I'd be talking about loads. Like, see, when I was on my live, I didn't have any doink, right? So I was drinking a glass of wine, and I was just chatting away, whatever. And they were asking me all these deep questions, and I was like, I can't answer that because I'm full of wine and I'm just being an idiot. But see, if I was smoking a joint, I would give you the most philosophical answer that you could ever imagine. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to explain things that you just know. Do you know what I mean? That you just feel. Like, it's hard to explain it in words.
Yeah, no, it seems to, like, unlock a different. But
yeah, a new level unlocked. That is what it's like.
Depending on, obviously, because I think so. Because what you're saying about the idea that accepting that you are, that death is inevitable and it's part of life, and it's just you're on to the next thing. So, but the idea is people seem to be so. I want to go back to that because people will maybe listen to that and be like, and take it as a thing of like, if you are depressed, right, whenever I was depressed, I was in the mindset of like nothing matters, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, see what you just said that? It was all in a good sense embrace life, embrace that you can do anything you want to do.
I suppose perspective, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, see, right, just for context, I think you probably know already, I think I've probably told you, right? So I used to be religious, right? I was Catholic, but I'm not going to sit here and say my mum and dad brought me up pure Catholic because they didn't care. They really didn't care, but I just really did. But they don't. But I did. I don't know why, I just did. I was just very religious. I felt very like, I don't know, like I felt like, you tell me what it feels like to be, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Like I felt like God was watching me, all this stuff, I felt like I was being watched, I felt like I was...
You felt like, is it, do you mean like in the sense of you felt like it was all kind of literal in some way? Like it was all it was all literal, like it was all real?
Kinda, like, but then when I stopped, like, I just was so scared of going to hell, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like Catholic guilt, we've all felt it, we've all felt that Catholic guilt. And I don't even know why I have got that, why that's such a big part of my life, because my dad was Catholic, does not give a fuck. My mum was Protestant, she likes angels and that, know what I mean? But she doesn't really care that much about religion. Yeah. I wasn't really brought up as a religious person, but I was just so consumed by religion, I don't know why. But when I finally denounced it, which was such a big thing, it was so scariest thing I've ever done in my life, probably. But I'd done it, and I think, see, once I'd done that, I think that was when I was like, I can do anything, do you know what I mean? Like, if I can denounce myself, God, then I can do anything. But that's when I was so scared of going to hell that I just wanted to be a good person so that I would go to heaven or whatever. But then now, my perspective of it is heaven and hell is a state that you're in, do you know what I mean? Like, so you're saying when you were depressed or whatever, like, and I think if most people have experienced some bout of depression, like, even if you don't know it, like, I feel like everybody has, do you know what I mean? Like, your mindset is just dog shit, do you know what I mean? Everything's bad, nothing matters, blah, 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 and you're in a state of hell, do you know what I mean? Because it is hellish. But then, when you flip it around, like, flip a switch, then you're in heaven, do you know what I mean? Nothing really matters. Nothing matters. Don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck, do you know what I mean?
But it's like, you can see when you're able to say that, but like give off, like, so you're obviously, because I think one of the most important things is how you're able to be like positive and put things in a way that people can actually take something from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, see, people are, like, we're talking about how when you're brought up a certain way, it kind of designs who you are.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So, like...
But so I don't really know, with the religious thing with me, I don't know where it came from. I don't know, because my mum and dad were not strictly religious or anything, like, they really didn't care. Like, but I just really did. And when I was going through a stage of depression when I was like 14, 15, I used to always, my mum would always put a Bible in my room, and I used to always take the Bible and open it up at a random page to see what it would say, and I always opened it at the same page. Can't remember the name of it, but it was, there's a time to weep, there's a time to mourn, there's a time to dance, there's a time do you know what I'm talking about? Like, there's a time for war, there's a time for peace. And I think that was just a message saying, like, balance, basically. Like, if there's everything is everything, nothing really matters, because no matter how much good you're going to have, there's going to be the same magnitude of bad. And that's one thing that kind of keeps me going when I'm like down and stuff, is no matter how bad things get, the same magnitude of good is out there, but sometimes you just need to go get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant point, by the way. Like,
and my mum as well. My mum we used to get this Chinese every weekend, and the owner of the Chinese used to deliver it for I don't think he was the delivery guy, right? But he used to always deliver ours, because he used to stand at the door with my mum for ages just talking about feng shui. You know, the black and white and it's about balance and stuff. We used to sit and talk about it for ages. My mum was quite into that and like changing the furniture and the doors and things like that. And I think that kind of went into me as well, like a kind of like a bit balance. Like everything's like yin and yang. Do you know what I mean? But when I went away for religion, I would identify as an omnist now. Like I see truth in them all, but I don't necessarily follow any of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just like my truth is different for your truth. Do you know what I mean?
But that is like the most objective way of looking at it, is that we don't. The idea that, because actually before you got in, me and Paul were talking about this.
Oh, where are you?
Just religion and things, because growing up, my mum was very religious, mainly because I think partly because I was in a wheelchair, sort of sprung that on. Sorry if this is
partly because of what?
Because I was in a wheelchair, that sort of sprung on the whole idea of.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure she was religious before that, but I think when I came along, she just was like
holding on to God, like help me, I've got a disabled son. It's not the worst thing in the world.
I know, but and I'm not. And also, if my mum will listen to this, she'll be like, "That's not true."
I know.
So I know, but I just mean like in the sense of like. We were brought up with this idea of, you know, religion. I was very much like you. Like, I think but my thing was I wanted to believe it.
Yeah, I wanted to believe it as well. I don't know why. I just wanted. I felt scared. I felt very trapped by religion. But then I can never really disrespect it, because at the same time I would say it saved me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not pure preaching, oh Jesus saved me and all this, because I'm not religious anymore. But religion definitely 100% did save me. But then because I felt like I was turning my back on God and all that. But then I also did feel very trapped by it, because I felt like my life was a challenge to not be myself, basically. Like I was just a sinner for being who I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, and fuck that. Fuck that.
That's brilliant, but like, how did you actually, so like, because obviously it's like a big change from who you are now to actually dealing with all that and coming through and going, I'm going to.
I was very young, do you know what I mean, when I did all that.
When did all this happen? Like,
when I was like 15.
15, that's such a
15, 16.
About, like all this stuff.
Yeah, mad. But then I feel like I went through all that when I was that age, but then this was when I was like maybe 18, 19. Where I kind of reflected on it all and actually reaped the benefits of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what's funny about all this is I actually remember that kind of happening to you at the time, but we never really spoke. I just followed you on Instagram.
You seen it on Facebook.
And I was like seeing this sort of change.
Yeah, I used to post loads of stuff, like loads of woke stuff, and I don't really do it now, but mainly because I feel like I'm changing again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like that's the good thing. You're constantly evolving, and it's something.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what life's supposed to be.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's so many people that are stuck in the same mindset that you can see that they're miserable.
Never change. But then, everybody thinks that, like, if you're loyal to a thought or whatever, you think, I'll never change that. But then that's how I just see the whole you're going to die anyway, nothing matters. That kind of relates back to that as well, because I've changed so many times. I've been so set in my ways about things and then completely changed. Do you know what I mean? No matter what it is, whether it's like an opinion on any topic at all, whether it's like, you know, mental health, a political issue, anything at all, I've flipped it. I've flipped everything. But then I think that's good to be able to look at things from all different perspectives, isn't it? Because there's no... Like, because life is not black and white, do you know what I mean? It's very colourful. Yeah,
and you need to do that to grow. That's the main thing. And when you're saying like stuff like, you know, when you're going back to like nothing matters, because you know this stuff and you know how what there's just as much good as there is bad. But like that's the thing that I think stops a lot of people, is that you get caught up in the idea that I think when you're not feeling good. Part of the reason why so many people are messed up and why I was messed up for a period of time is the idea that you can live life without feeling bad at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think,
like that's not possible.
I think some people are stuck in the mindset of that hardships don't need to happen and shouldn't happen for a perfect life.
Yeah, no, is
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, and fake positivity as well. There's no point in that. Power of positivity is very real, but you're not going to like. obviously whatever energy's inside you is not going to leave you unless you let it out. Do you know what I mean? If it's anger, sadness, grief, whatever, like energy cannot disappear, it can only change form. So it needs to come out, like no matter what it is, whether that's the thing, like happiness doesn't last either, do you know what I mean? But there's always things to be happy about and there's always things to be sad about.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation is actually genuinely so much fun just because it's like...
See, I feel like I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I'm just talking.
No, but it's like, but it's also like, people don't... You see so many conversations where it's like so on the surface and it's like, oh,
like shallow.
Like, no, but it's like, just believe in yourself and just... You know what I mean?
And it's like, but how?
And you're like,
how did I do that?
Exactly, like, people are just so like...
But then I'm not sitting here saying I don't struggle with stuff, because I do.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I do.
I mean.
Like, this is one of the first things you came forward to me was about, was on the topic of mental health, how like it's always the confident person, the happy person, the person that stands out in the group that ends up being the most depressed. And I'm like, I can really relate to that, like... Because I always come across, like I do come across confident with her, but I struggle with confidence. I don't struggle with confidence in the sense of people seeing me or like looking at me or talking or anything like that. I struggle with confidence in the sense of like being confident in myself. Do I actually believe in myself? Like, I don't care what you think, I care what I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that, see what you just said then about like actually in terms of being able to like, because that was one of the like I was saying to you before. I think you got that. I'm right in saying you got that from like one of the first podcasts I did or something. But I was just talking about
possibly.
And because I remember you saying that to me, and it was like that whole idea was I was very suicidal at some point, at a point, but nobody would have any nobody would have known.
Nobody would know.
Because I was during that time. It was when I was extremely chatty. Do you know what I mean? I was like people. I remember going to a football session one time, like the same night that I was thinking about jumping off a train.
Yeah.
And like I remember leaving and everybody was like, "You seem so like upbeat tonight. You seem so happy tonight." And I was like,
It's always when you feel the worst, people like tell you that you seem good, and you're like, you're actually like, help. Like,
and I'm like, yeah. I feel great.
Like I feel. See, I get really very like oversharing and things like that. Right? I'm like, get me a counsellor. But thingy, sometimes I'm like, why? People say, oh, you need to reach out, you need to do that, this, that, the other. People do reach out, right? But it's that people don't listen. And it's like, if people are there for you or whatever, it's like, why does it feel like I need to jump off a bridge just to be heard? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I have opened up to people before, people close to me, and then just basically been laughed at, do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, I'm not going to open up to you again. And then loneliness is such a thing, doesn't matter how many pals you've got. Like, I don't have necessarily loads of pals, but the pals that I do have are good pals. But that doesn't mean that I don't get lonely, because I struggle with loneliness, like deeply, like very deeply. You feel like you've got nobody to turn to, because see if you do open up about things, and then it's disregarded, you're like, well, who the fuck am I meant to go to?
Yeah, and it's like this whole idea of let's talk, but then you actually talk.
It's like, well, let's talk then.
That always really annoyed me, like when people would be like, the whole slogan is let's talk, and then you're like, about what though?
I think a lot of the time people don't really know how to deal with it as well, but so you can't. I used to blame people for my problems. I try not to do that now, because like, first of all, it's not their responsibility, right? And also, if somebody comes to me with some very serious problems, I don't really know what to do either. Do you know what I mean? Like, the only thing you can really do is let them know that they're not alone. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But I don't really know how to help somebody in a state of crisis. Yeah. Even I've actually got suicide training, and even at that, I still wouldn't really know what to do other than that. And I don't really think it's that effective. Apart from asking questions, like you can ask questions to prompt somebody to talk, and kind of so that you can identify whether they're suicidal or not. But I don't know, like, it's such a sensitive topic, because then it's like, suicide's a preventable death, but then when you're in that state of mind, you can't see anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't see a way out, you don't see the world for what it is. You don't see life for what it is. You're just stuck in your mindset.
But your mind is like so, you're so able to like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like you're it turns against you almost, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you're not, see when people say, see the reason why like saying committed suicide became death by suicide is because of the fact that you're saying that when somebody's suicidal, it's not like they just got up and thought, I'm going to do this to myself today. It's you know, it's the idea that
builds
like,
up.
like your mind is not, you're no longer you.
Yeah, you're mentally ill.
You're like mentally ill. And people talk about it as if it's like, you know, just push through, but it's not like that. Like
you wouldn't say that about any other illness, like just push through. But
exactly.
It's like, yeah, it's hard to talk about it, like, because if you talk about it objectively, it comes across insensitive. But but I think when it comes to mental health, I think mental health, obviously everybody's different, right? But this is, if it was me, right, I think mental problems need mental solutions, right? Physical problems need physical solutions. That's just the way I see it. I'm not like anti-meds or anything like that, because I have people close to me who take meds and it helps them, and that's great that it helps them. But not for me, right? Not for me. But I think because it's a sensitive issue, you need to approach it sensitively. But you need to also find that balance of having an objective approach of like, this is what is happening right now, like this needs to be fixed in this way. Like you can't sugarcoat it or whatever it is, because it's, you know, it's people's lives, do you know what I mean? Like it's people's lives in your hands, and you need to approach it from an angle where you're actually going to fix it. But I think a lot of people think we'll try and do that, and it's tough love, and I don't think tough love works in that situation.
It comes back to like this whole idea of actually trying to communicate things in a way that so all you can really do is communicate something in a way that you know that you'd be receptive to. Really?
Yeah, exactly, because you can only meet somebody as far as you've met yourself, and you can only really communicate from you can only speak for yourself, do you know what I mean? You can't.
Yeah.
See, the words are there. See, I wish I read my book before that.
But I totally understand what you're saying, because it's like you have to. The number one thing for me would be letting the person know that they're loved and that you care about them.
Yeah, definitely.
But then being like, this is what you need. We need to get you talking to somebody. Like Paul was actually, you know, a cognitive behavioural therapist, right? And he's never given me a therapy session because that would be a conflict. But like, see, in terms of actually just talking to him, and like he actually knows. He's talked to people that are like on, you know, the brink of suicide and things like that, and knows how to talk with them.
Yeah.
And there's certain ways that but the problem is that there's not as many, like that's what I'm saying, there needs to be more people that can do what Paul can do, basically.
Yeah.
And that's not, rather than, because see, at the end of the day, I was on meds, I was on loads of antidepressants for ages, and I went from feeling terrible to feeling nothing.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, which is why I would never take anything, like, because I've heard people saying it, you just feel numb.
Yeah, but the only thing that really helped me was when I felt really like, there was times in my life where I felt really hurt by things. More so like wee things that shouldn't hurt you a lot really, really, really hurt me because of just the way that I was seeing them. Yeah,
like your mindset was harming you, basically.
Aye, so taking antidepressants would make that hurt less hurtful.
Do you think would you say that it masked it?
It allowed me to kind of, what I would say is it masked it, but it also allowed me to kind of get the ball rolling with something. So like, let's say I would be like in my bed all day, not able to move, not able to do anything, just wanting to just die, basically.
Yeah.
And I know, I wish there was a better, like, less on the nose way to put that, but that's just the truth.
That's what it is.
And so what it was able to do was it masked it enough for me to get off of my bed and start do a workout or do something that was productive, and then you're able to kind of start, like, you're almost able to make the first move to break down something, to start thinking about something differently. Mm-hmm. And so but the problem was that feeling, I was just like, well, this is the solution now. I'm just on these forever. This is that. You know what I mean? It was like,
but did it fix the depression?
No, that's what I'm saying, is that eventually it comes back round to how you actually felt deep down in you.
Yeah, that's why I said mental problems require mental solutions. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can take as many meds as you want, and I'm not anti-meds at all, but it's not going to fix the problem. It's the same as even if it's a physical illness. No matter, the medicine's not fixing your illness. It's just masking the ailments, basically.
Yeah, well, it's the same way. It's the same way that, like, I don't know if it's the same way, but this is maybe a big comparison. But like people that saying like if you take this, you'll get abs or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if it, like it's the same way of being like there's not a quick solution to anything.
Yeah, no quick solution.
And so if you take the meds, and you know, I think they did help me come off the edge a little bit and just sort of regroup. But the problem is I wasn't really I wasn't encouraged to be like, this isn't the final solution to this.
Yeah.
So eventually it comes back round for you to go like, these kind of solutions, these kind of problems even are still here. They're just deeper now.
Yeah, they've just like helped the symptoms basically.
So
they've not taken it away.
And that was how I was even able to start the podcast. Was that I came off them, and then I was like, it was even just that summer there where I was just doing things all the time. So I would just be going to football or going everywhere, and I had no time to think about things for myself, really, or like think about how I was feeling. So when the world kind of shut down a bit, I was like, you're just sat with yourself. Yeah, you're just sat with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
life does go so fast. Like life is like modern life. See, I used to have this consumer psychology module that I'd done at uni, right? And I was pretty bad at turning up for lectures and that, but I would never miss this one. Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock, I'd always smoke a joint before it, right? And I loved it. It was just so interesting. And it was just basically about how modern life is not fit for human beings. Like, remember we were talking about like how we're like beings of nature and things like that?
Yeah.
We're not living in our natural environment. Like, we do not, our brains are not designed, we're monkeys. Do you know what I mean? Our monkey brains are not designed to, I'm not saying we're monkeys, right? We're primates, but just in case there's any Karens. But our primate brains are not designed to keep up with this society. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, it's no wonder everybody's in such a state. Like, we're all trying to do everything 1,000 miles an hour. Like, why? See what I was just saying earlier on about how, like, if I'm sitting not on my phone, I'm afraid of what's going to pop up. Like, I 100% admit that I have got a social media addiction. It's so bad. I've written about it as well. In uni, I've written a couple of reports on social media addiction. It's pretty bad. But...
And that'll be really common now as well, though. Like,
yeah, very common, very common. Like, Gen Z is... I feel like Gen Z is just as fucked as it is, like, we are going to save the world. We are going to save the world.
Like, that's why I didn't get TikTok, right? Because you can just see yourself being, like, addicted to everything. And
I think technology, like, well, they say it's a war on technology now, don't they? Like, it's not a world war, it's a war of information, but... I think technology is great if you use it properly, but it comes down to that balance into it, and it's discipline. Discipline will always rule, like, your life. I don't know, but then you shouldn't really need to. No, like, we need discipline to survive in this world.
Have you heard that? Have you ever heard, like,
I just want to exist.
Jake, I forget his name. Yeah. I've listened to him in podcasts and stuff. Jack O'Billick. He was in the military and all this, and basically he's got this saying, it's like, discipline equals freedom. And that is genuinely the most... I've heard that. So true, because see, the thing is, right, see, as much as... See, the reason why discipline is so important isn't because to make your life more boring or whatever, but it's the idea that anything... You can let anything get out of control. Mm-hmm. Even good things.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a tattoo with discipline and regret, because discipline will always... regret will always be heavier than discipline. Like, discipline is heavy, but regret is heavier. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look back and think, see if I'd just been a bit more... discipline is one of the worst things that I struggle with. Like, so bad. And I always say when I move out, I'm like, just do it now. Just do it. Like, prove to yourself that you're strong and work with the means with what you've got. And every time I fail. Every single time. But at least I know that. Do you know what I mean? At least I know it's what I need to work on. Discipline, discipline definitely is freedom, because it comes back to hardships, doesn't it? Like, there's always going to be a hardship, but there's going to be the same magnitude of greatness behind that. Do you know what I mean?
It's so true, just because of the fact that you can actually, like, discipline. There's so many ways you can put this, right? But for me, it's as if it's like you can, like when I was telling you the story about how I was letting everything kind of fly off the handle. Anyone can live the life like that, where it's just like, I'm going to just do whatever I want to excess. But it's like you have to be aware of the fact that there is all like a balance, and you need discipline. But balance, you need discipline to have the balance. Like it's all. Yeah. So there's like discipline can literally. There was a thing I did in Portugal. I was in Portugal for a week, and it's actually how this podcast came about. The whole idea of it came up there, but we were doing different classes and stuff, and personal development and stuff like that. And one of the things, like the course I was doing was called the Football for All Leadership Program. Just because people will be like, a bit of context about what I'm about to say here. So we're doing the class, right? And they give us all these words, and they were like doing that thing where you score out a certain, like they'll say something, and then you, however you feel about it, you score out certain things, and it will reveal what the most important thing to you is.
Yeah, I've done this. I've done it with the qualities in a person.
Aye, so I done that, and my last word was discipline.
Oh really?
And I didn't even like. I was surprised. I was like, "What the fuck is that all about?" Do you know what I mean?
But it goes to show, doesn't it?
Aye, but it's like it's because I'm aware of the fact that the only way that I was able to come out of that was by having a bit of discipline and being like, discipline. If I'm not disciplined, I can't live my life the way I want to live it. Mm-hmm. Which is that's why it's important not to make your life more boring, but to actually live it to the fullest way that you want to live it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think it's mad. Like, see, living in like a capitalist world, like people say money's freedom, which sadly it is, but it's the same. Like, see if you, I think no matter how much money you've got, see if you substitute money with discipline, then you're probably going to get just as good a quality of life. Like, no matter, like, definitely. It depends on what you want in life, innit?
Well, because the more disciplined you are, the more able you're more able to like do things productively as well, and like whatever that will lead you down some sort of pathway. And also, you know, you were playing. Hold on a minute, right? You were actually nervous about this, but you fucking nailed it, man. This is brilliant.
I think I'm just talking all this shit. I'm actually sitting like, I need a joint.
No, but I mean, like
I need my breakfast.
See the amount of guests you get, but you're like, man, this is going to be hard.
Really?
I've never
really thought that watching any of your podcasts. I thought they've all went quite.
No, like they have been, but like what I'm saying is that
come down to your editing.
Well, no, they have been, to be fair. But like what I mean is like your whole personality. Sometimes people want like a specific way of talking, like a specific interview type thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, you need to think about what the next question is. Whereas with you, it's like I'm able to just kind of bounce off what you're saying. Exactly. Yeah. Whereas there's people that come in that
what do you want to talk about?
That. Well, like, I was just going to, so, I can't believe we've done another 10 minutes.
I know.
But is there anything that you want to highlight that we've not highlighted? I feel like
that this bag is made of leaves.
Is it really?
Yeah, so leather bag made of leaves. My sister got it for my birthday.
And that's why vegans are important.
The future of leather.
Aye. That's amazing.
Plant-based, it's made of leaves. I'm going to get one.
It's actually a really nice looking bag as well.
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? Yeah. Really cute. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. People might be wondering where it's from. It's from Famon in London.
Right,
so there we go.
Because we've not even talked about like what it is you do as a job besides.
Well, I'm at uni. I don't want to reveal my job.
Okay.
Because I'm scared of the internet. Because sometimes I'm a silly monkey on it.
Fair enough. What is it you're doing at uni?
Marketing. Nearly finished. International marketing. I'm almost finished. But I got an extension for my dissertation. Here we go. And I'm writing my dissertation on. So I'm doing a comparative study between the attitudes and motivations of Gen Z and Gen Y, so Gen Z and millennials. Basically, sustainability in the food industry, and I'm wanting to compare the attitudes and motivations and look at how cognitive dissonance impacts their purchase behaviour. So there you go. But I was wanting to do it on, it took me so long, like, because I had taken a year out, and I thought, I'll figure out what I'm doing in a year out. Never figured it out until like the night before, as always, every single time. My tutor was kind of prompting me to do it about veganism, and I was like, I don't want to do it on veganism. Like, there's too many routes to go down. I'll get lost, whatever else. So that's why I went down sustainability in the food industry, because it's much more open. And basically what I'm planning to do, but it's taken ages to plan because pandemic, but get some meat eaters, some vegans or plant-based people, and some flexitarians, so people who are kind of in the middle, and do a focus group and basically compare the results and see what they have to say. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Don't know what I'm going to do for a job afterwards. I want to be a yoga teacher. I don't really need to be it.
Fair enough.
Thingy, but then I don't really want to be a yoga teacher for like monetary value. Like I just want to do that because I want a nice life. Like I want to be a yogini, but I don't feel like people see. I feel like I keep going back to this live, but I was actually there all day. Like I was there for like dinner time until like 2 a.m. And they were just asking me everything, and I was like, I don't feel qualified to share this, like to share on this. No, I don't mean qualified in the sense I don't have a teaching qualification. I mean like I don't feel qualified and as in like, yeah, like I don't feel like I should really, like I'm very aware that I've got a lot to learn. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm so excited about learning it. Like, because people were asking me all these questions about, oh, show me your crystals and all that, and I was like, I don't even. I've got hunters, right? And I was showing them, and I was like, look, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what it does. It doesn't matter. The most spiritual thing to me is my yoga mat. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they were like, oh, what other spiritual things have you got and all that? And oh, here I actually brought an incense thing. See, we started too quick. I was like, oh, I've got this, I've got that, and I was like, but it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't. It's nothing to do with material. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. Like, yeah, it's you can do things with it, can help you and whatever. But I was like, but the position I'm in right now, I'm doing a lot of thinking, do you know, and doing a lot of feeling, doing a lot of like inner work. And then when I've done that, then I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Do you know what I mean?
But that's so more like so much better doing that than like people would.
It's authentic. Like I want to reach authenticity. Like because people were asking me to like do yoga videos and all that, and I was like, look, no. I was like, I'll do it when I feel like, because I'll post workout videos or something if you want, like, but I don't want to do yoga videos because yoga is a sacred practice and it's been highly like appropriated to the point where it's now an exercise, which it's not. It's not an exercise. Only the physical part is only one limb of it. And I feel like in the Western world, and me included, have learned it that way. Do you know what I mean? So I've tried to unlearn everything. I stopped going to the yoga class that I was going to and started going to an Indian one, because like I went to it's called Om, Sweet Om in town, and it's so good. And we went to this, like, me and my friends went, and we thought it was going to be like a seminar, but it was like a church service, but for like hippies, and it was amazing. We were all sitting in a circle singing Hare Krishna, meditating and stuff, and we had like wee singing bowls and stuff. And I was like, this is what I want. Like, I don't want it to be like, oh, you can get the handstand by doing this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be authentic, because I knew, like, I think people always ask me, not right now, I'm not saying right now, right, but see when I was at the gym and whatever, and I was looking good and whatever else, people always ask me, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I do weights, I do yoga, and I go on my bike, that's it. And they were like, well, how do you look like that? And I was like, well, I think it's the yoga, to be honest. Because mainly stretching, because the stretching works really well with the weights. And I can fully go into like a yoga class, and I do body balance as well, and that's yoga inspired, but that is a workout, so that's really hard. And do it that way, but most of the time I'll go down and sit on the mat, and it's like it's the sacred part of it that I really enjoy. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's fine. It does good for your body. It's great exercise and whatever else, good for your breathing, obviously. But it's the sacred part of it, of actually sitting down and meditating and like connecting and going inwards, that like really resonates with me, like properly, which is why I was like, I don't really want to post videos or anything until I'm at a point where I feel, more authentic in what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be like people, like, I'm quite showy offy as it is, but I don't want it to be like that. Do you know what I mean? I've always been a show off. Like, I don't want to share wrong information, because I've learned that a lot of what I know is wrong. Like, not even wrong, but like, I've learned a very westernised version of spirituality, and I'm trying to wipe it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to obviously, to be a yoga teacher, like, I'm slowly learning Sanskrit, right? Very hard, very, very hard. But I'm trying to learn more like authentically, do you know what I mean? So that I can actually share authentic stuff. Like, I don't want it to just be about looking good or anything like that. If you want stuff like content like that, then I'll do workout stuff and show you that kind of stuff. But I want to be a yoga teacher, right? And like for the rest of my life, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to share it when I feel that I'm in a position to do so. But when it comes to like showy offy stuff, I don't want to take that down that line, because it just it devalues it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not about losing weight. Do you know what I mean? It's not what it's about. And people ask me that about veganism all the time. Like, I've been vegan for, you see it on Facebook groups, I've been vegan for 3 months, I've not lost any weight. It's not about losing weight, you know. And there's a difference between a veganism and a plant-based diet, completely different things, which is another thing why I took veganism away, because it just too many opportunities for people to nitpick and say you're not a vegan. But I think now that it's went mainstream, people should know the difference, because if you're saying you're, like, I've kind of been saying to people, like, that's plant-based and that's vegan, right? But I'm not saying it to tell you you're wrong for doing that or that or whatever. I'm just saying because I know you want to be vegan, but that what you're doing that's a plant-based diet. So veganism's the full lifestyle. Like, because people still come to me and say, I want to go vegan, and I'm like, why? And like, for the animals. And I'm like, right, so you really want to go full lifestyle vegan? Do you know what I mean? Like, so you need to be incorporating into all aspects of your life, like your cars, your fashion, your food, your cosmetics, everything. But if you're just going plant-based for like the environment or whatever, then that's completely separate things. Like, so I always think people are going to think, oh, you're being a Karen. And I'm like, I'm not actually trying to be a Karen. Like, I'm just trying to tell you so that you know, do you know what I mean? So that you're not doing the wrong thing. Or so that you're not, like, so that you're not misled. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't actually really care what other people do.
But it's something that I hadn't really thought about until you just kind of said that. The idea that the vegan is kind of, it's the whole thing.
Veganism's a lifestyle. You know, veganism's not a diet. It's plant-based diet is a diet, but veganism isn't a diet. Just because something's plant-based as well doesn't mean that it's vegan or cruelty-free. Do you know what I mean? And just because something is vegan, it doesn't mean it's ethical. Especially now that it's all went mainstream. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, people will say, "Oh, veganism's bad for the environment," and it's like, how? And it's like because of the way that capitalist agriculture is bad for the environment. And it's like, right, but it's not just vegans that are eating that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're eating that too. And I think sometimes it's like, if veganism's bad, if what you're saying, like veganism and plant-based agriculture is bad for the environment, like, there's some really good arguments for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, say how detrimental it is and all that, and, you know, there's human rights issues come into it as well. When you're like exploiting farmers and bringing food in and stuff. And it's like, if that's bad, then how bad is the rest of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, the world is not vegan. There's no point. I hate, because people say, oh yeah, there's stuff that's not vegan on your phone, and it's like, what do you want me to do about that? Like, what do you actually want me to do about that? Like, it's so many like branches that you can go down, but it's very, very complex. But that's why I've try to move away from saying being vegan or whatever. But I don't know, like, it's so, I feel like I'm at a place as well where I'm reevaluating it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, as I said, I would say that I'm vegan, right? But I also wouldn't say to somebody that they should buy a new jacket than wearing a fur coat that's 60-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like sustainability is just as big an issue. Like, for me, like, I'm not necessarily against eating meat. Do you know what I mean? I ate meat for 20-odd year, 19 year. It's obviously a natural thing to do. I'm against the global food system. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a perversion of nature. And I'd said to somebody who's pretty anti-vegan, but we're friends, we were talking about stem cell meat, and he was like, no, it's a complete perversion of nature. And I was like, well, in factory farms aren't. And I think that was kind of the penny drop for him. And he was like, oh, right. I was like, exactly. It's not natural to kill 3 billion animals. Do you know what I mean? 3 billion. I don't think people, the thing is, that's like, I can number. Only a big number of people do not even realise. Like, I don't think people realise just the extent to which stuff happens. And I see, when I learned it all, I cannot unlearn it. Do you know what I mean? It's stuck in my consciousness. And I just kind of put two and two together and thought, this isn't how we're meant to live either. Do you know what I mean? Like, people do not know how their food gets to their plate, like, at all. And even, not that goes for vegans as well. You don't know how your vegetables get to your plate either. Do you know what I mean? And it's not the issue. Veganism isn't the issue. It's basically capitalism's the issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, and definitely, see if we had a more kind of socialist approach to communities and stuff, farming wouldn't be so bad. Like, yeah, if you've made a connection to animals, don't eat them. I probably wouldn't, right, for spiritual reasons, whole other topic, right? But it's not as, it is natural to eat an animal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care what any vegan says. It is natural to eat an animal, but it's not natural to do it in the way that we do it. And do you know what I mean?
Well, that actually brings up a really good point about what I was thinking about the other day. Like, when we were talking about it, and like Joe Rogan, for example, right? He hunts.
I've watched some of his stuff,
but he hunts like in so he'll hunt elk in areas where elk is overpopulated. So it's like
I'd say that's pretty ethical, to be honest.
So exactly, that was the thing. Is that's what's really good about this is that he's actually helping the animals by restoring what the system's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because if there's overpopulated elk, there'll be, there's a effect to that.
Yeah, it causes an imbalance as well. Like, they were wanting to bring lynx back in Scotland, but they were not wanting to do it because of the lambs or whatever. But I think that's more like a farming issue. But I wouldn't give it a
But like, that's my point, is you're the kind of person that can really help people become
I feel like I'm
vegan.
still learning, because sometimes I feel the way you communicate as well, like, people think you're attacking them, and it's like, I'm not actually trying to attack you here, I'm actually just trying to, like, educate you in a non-patronising way, like, just let you know, like, I'm just trying to...
Exactly. you're being completely objective about it.
I'm trying to be, I do try and be objective about it.
And that's but see, the fact you're even able to say I'm learning all this stuff, what I was going to say earlier is there's so many people that you meet that just are that are kidding themselves on, like, the sense of, like, they'll come out and talk about topics like whether it be, you see a lot of people talking about mental health while they're going through all sorts of issues they need to deal with, right? And you're like, this, it's like, I don't want to come on and talk about...
Basically, I'm the real MVP.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Basically, you're just you're allowing yourself to be as real and as authentic as possible. Whereas what I'm trying to say is a lot of people are trying not to, are kind of fighting against that and sort of
and I see
trying to be something else.
Well, everybody's just trapped in their ego into it. But I know you probably don't care about astrology, right? But somebody who's watching this, well, I'm a Leo, right? I've got a very big ego, and I know it. But I try and kind of break it down a wee bit. Like, I do have a lot of pride in that, right? And I'm proud of myself, and like, maybe I do come across a bit conceited and stuff, but like, overconfident. But I've never benefited from that. Do you know what I mean? I've never benefited from kidding myself on, basically. Like, personality is a bit different. Do you know what I mean? Like, people like your personality. Yeah. That's good if you're confident and whatever else. But I've never actually benefited from lying to myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, and nobody does though. But that's one of the hardest things to acknowledge the fact, because if you're lying to yourself, you can lie to anybody, and it becomes part of, like, you haven't actually admit to yourself, I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely
That's
is.
Hard. It's not easy.
It's the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Was to be like, was to look at myself and be like, the reason why I'm unhappy isn't because I'm in a wheelchair. It's because I'm totally just not doing anything.
You're your own worst enemy. Have you seen that meme? And it's before a spiritual awakening, and it's the wee boy, and he's got the welly on his head, and then it's after a spiritual awakening, and he's holding the welly on his leg. So you are your own, on his head, sorry. You are your own worst enemy. Like, I know I'm, like, see, I blame all my issues on everybody else, like, and I blame it on the fact that I still see my mum and dad, I'm not happy there, I want out, blah, 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 I'll do this when I move out, I'll do that when I move out, and I'll just blame everything on that. And, like, yeah, your environment does become you, right, and that is a big part of it, but at the end of the day, discipline will rule over everything else, won't it? Like, if you actually work with what you've got and utilise it to get the greatest outcome, then you're on to a winner.
100%. I mean, it's like that almost rounds it off really well, I feel like. I mean, we should definitely do this again though.
Yeah, so break it down into small topics.
Because like there's a bunch of things that we didn't touch on. Like I was going to talk to you about. I know you put out. Maybe we can touch on it briefly. Like, but it's hard to touch on it briefly because it's such an important subject. But I seen you putting posts out about like everything that's been going on with the police and women and the things.
Oh, do not get me started.
Right?
Don't get me started.
And like one of the things that you shared that really hit me as well was when you were like, the people that are silent on this are
allowing it.
Yeah.
See, one thing that's actually, I've had a big switch in mindset, right? And I was going to say I'm not afraid to say it. I am afraid to say it, right? I'm very afraid to say it. Like the reason this kind of, like this perspective kind of arose within me, right, was see through all the BLM stuff, right? Obviously, we can't relate. Do you know what I mean? Like, can't relate at all. I don't actually know what you're talking about. I just see all this bad stuff happening. And the only way, sometimes I felt like I was being quite ignorant a lot, right? And I was like, I'm like, not that I meant to be, do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand this, right? I really don't understand what's going on. And then it kind of, a lot of people had never really heard of racism being a system thing, like a systemic thing, until probably last year. And I hadn't either. I just thought it was like black and white, do you know what I mean? But then you learn a lot of stuff and you're like, this is like a deeply rooted issue throughout society that oppresses one group of people, right? And when I started to wake up and learn about that and actually realise that and actually realise my own ignorance, like that it's not that you're meaning to be any topic at all, whether it's, you know, veganism, feminism, racism, any ism and schism, the people that don't understand it are ignorant to it, not because they mean to be, but because they don't know any better. Do you know what I mean? You can only meet somebody as far as they've met themselves. Like, and obviously that doesn't resonate with me at all, because obviously I'm a white privileged person. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the only way I came to understand that, right, was by substituting in feminism, something that I could relate to. And I thought, you know what, actually makes sense, because I was like, because I think men don't understand, they don't know, they've never experienced it. They say they do, but they don't. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same when you flip it around, like, you know, why are men playing the victim? Why are they doing this, that, the other? And then that was when it was all the BLM stuff was coming on, and a lot of stuff started making sense to me, like saying like, oh shit, I'm playing the victim here. Like, this is not my problem. Do you know what I mean? This is your problem. I need to help you. Do you know what I mean? This is a problem that, although I personally have not created it, I feed into it. Do you know what I mean? So I need to stop that, recognise it, and help you guys get on your side. And that's when that kind of perspective, like, was born for me, when I substituted feminism in that. It makes so much sense. Like, I don't actually, like, something, like, obviously, you say women are the oppressed group or whatever. And you ask the question, like, well, why do men act the way they do? And men who claim they're not rapists, but it's like, but you're acting like one. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like a white person would say, well, I'm not racist, and it's like, but you're acting like one. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though you might not have that bad intent in your heart, you're still feeding into that system. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's the racist system or the patriarchy, it's like you're fueling it. Like you're putting coal in the fire, and you're allowing it to keep burning. And until you actually realise you're doing that, you can't stop it. Do you know what I mean? But then it's not easy to turn around and say, oh, I've been sexist, or I've been a rapist sympathiser, or I've been racist. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to come forward and say that. Like, it's hard to come forward and say you've done something wrong, right? And men say, oh, but it's not all men. Like, it's not, basically they're saying it's not me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing that. And it's like, right, but you're feeding into the system by doing that. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of men it's coming forward now, like, especially with the laws and whatever, right? A lot of men are realising that they have done something wrong, or like bad, basically. I think they just don't want to get to jail. Do you know what I mean? But it would never happen that way anyway. That's not, women don't want men to go to jail. Do you know what I mean? Women want men to realise what they're doing is wrong. The same way as I imagine, like, well, I was talking to my two friends, right? One's mixed race and one's black, and they were explaining it to me in a way I'd never heard it before, right? And they were explaining, like, the BLM and things, the way it's a system, how they're less likely to do good in school or whatever. I can't really remember, because of the way the system works. And I put two and two together, and I thought, what the hell, that actually makes so much sense. Like see the way, like, talk about disabilities, like, it's not that there's anything wrong with you, it's that the society's not built for you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it was the same. It's like the world's not vegan, it's not built for disabled people, it works against black people, it works against women. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean? And I don't mean, see, I'm weary of saying something wrong, do you know what I mean? Because I don't want to say anything that's wrong or offensive. But if I do, then I would want somebody to tell me, do you know what I mean? Because I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean?
It does all come together. Like, it comes all, because it's all, that's how we can all relate, and that's how, because we are stronger than numbers. So if we can all, if you can relate. What
does that mean?
I in the sense of, like, you're talking about the different, so if you apply the way that I describe disability and the way that you describe feminism to everything, to BLM,
to like any ism,
and
any system.
So what I mean is, if we were all able to realise that and relate to each other, then we could all fight our battles together. Yeah,
and come to unity. Do you know what I mean? There's just so much conflict, and people. The thing is, a lot of people say education is key, and everybody knows education is key, but nobody wants to educate. Do you know what I mean? Nobody wants to actually. People want to argue about it.
We need to put money into education first for education in media.
No, definitely. But I mean, like, education, like, we're sat here talking, educating each other. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but nobody.
Open conversation.
Like, you try and teach somebody something, and they think you're trying to put them down or something. And it's so, like,
when you're
trying to bring you up.
Exactly. Like, you're trying to actually, it's an important thing you're saying. And
I'm guilty of it too as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if I've said something, not like, if I'm in the wrong, right?
Yeah.
And somebody tries to educate me in something, you do go snide. Do you know what I mean? You're like, who are you talking to? Like, tell me I'm wrong. But then you do actually need to take a step back and think, no, that actually was wrong now. But it's hard. Like, it's hard to put your hands up and say I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
that it's never easy. It's never an easy thing. And, like, even you're saying, when you know how you're talking about the idea of, like, when men are able to be like, it's not, all they're saying is it's not me, basically. So what you're meaning by that essentially is that if you're then saying it's not me, but by doing that, you're feeding into it in the sense of the only way that you're able to change this isn't by saying it's not me. It's about saying, who is it? How are we going to...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not me, it's not me, it's not what you mean. It's like, well, who is it then?
Exactly.
Who is it?
That's the point. Like, you're not adding it into the discussion by saying it's not me.
Yeah, you're not adding anything at all. Yeah, definitely.
Just because, like, I felt like that was what you were trying to say, and I wanted to make that clear.
You're just speaking over people. You're just silencing the person that has the issue. And it's like, see, men's mental health, right? Obviously, men have much higher suicide rates. You never hear women saying, oh, but women commit suicide, women have bad mental health. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would never sit and ask a man to take accountability for my bad mental health because he has it worse. Do you know what I mean? So why is it when women are talking about women's issues and rape, men feel the need to try and say, like, I posted a video on TikTok that was basically, it was the wee one that goes, do you know what I'm talking about? And then they go, no, right, well, someone will know, right? And it was like men trying to have an input when talking about rape, right? And it was like, can you prove that? And it's like, because I've heard it multiple times from boys that I know, do you know what I mean? My pals. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like, why are you saying that? Why are you asking for proof of things that cannot be proved? Like, you're not adding anything, you're not adding any value to the movement. All you're saying is, like, and then saying things like, oh, you're belittling men's issues. It's like, me talking about issues that affect me is not belittling you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
No, but I don't know. I like see that it's a whole big
topic. It's a long way to go, definitely. Like, with any, like, systemic issue, anything at all, like.
But that's the thing. See with like when you're the way you're talking about that, like, it makes complete sense. But I never really thought about the idea of, like, if you know, women, you never hear women's first instinct when a guy comes to them saying I'm struggling with something, isn't it be like, well, is that true though? Where's the evidence of this?
It's actually, I won't even lie, like, I feel like I would like to have more education on it as well, right?
Yeah.
How the patriarchy also affects men, do you know what I mean? Like, really what it boils down to is men coming forward and saying things like that is because they also don't fit into the patriarchy. It's like you're not allowed to feel, basically. So that's why you're struggling to show that empathy there, because you're not. Women are naturally empathetic, right? So we're not going to sit and. We know you feel that way. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like the reason a lot of men are like defensive on the matter is because they're struggling to actually feel the empathy because they're also oppressed. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's like men and women are not enemies. Do you know what I mean? The man has what the woman lacks, and the woman has what the man lacks, and that is literally the circle of life, isn't it? Like, it is. Like, everybody has masculine and feminine in them, and people do. I don't know. Like, is it Kanye West said that women are something to nurture, not something to conquer? Like, I don't understand why anybody would hate women. Like,
I think that's what like Stephen, you're saying about how men struggle to have that empathy because they don't fit into either. But a big part of that is like we as pals and as like a group generally, like, you know, if they're not like really close pals to you know, especially like through school and stuff like that, your instinct is to slag each other off all the time.
Yeah.
And so basically you're all kind of slagging each other off and you all kind of become defensive. Yeah. You know, like, because that's the environment. It's like sort of you're in constant kind of subconscious competition with each other, and the idea that if you slag me off, I'm slagging you off, and we're both going to get defensive about this. Yeah. Which then grows into like a group of people being able to say, when these issues get addressed for women, men can go, their natural instinct is to be defensive and be like, well, it's not me.
But do you think men are just like conditioned to be like that just because that's the way?
I'm not saying that, because obviously not all men are. That's a pure. Not all men. That would be a pure ridiculous generation to make. But I just mean in the sense of, from like growing up when I was in school, from my own like experience, like every sort of conversation was sort of kind of just slagging each other off. And so everybody was really defensive.
In general, humans do not have healthy relationships.
Aye. And I'm not, by the way, and I'm saying that the only reason why I'm saying that, I'm not saying that as like an excuse.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm saying that as this is the issue that we need to address.
Yeah, like objectively, like the same issue that's going to solve men's issues. No, the solution that's going to solve men's issues is the same solution that's going to solve women's issues. Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's always breaking down systems.
Well, because women are already doing everything there is to be done. Like, I seen this, you know, like you're all working together. I think. Do you know what I mean?
What would help is conversation around sex education in school needs to be developed so much. They've started doing it younger now, which I think is a great thing. A lot of people disagree with it, but considering wee girls can hit puberty as early as like 7 and 8, I think it's completely relevant to teach children about sex education. You know, they're not showing them porn. Do you know what I mean? They're teaching them about life. And I think the conversation around consent needs to be so much more prominent, because a lot of men and women don't understand consent. Which is why a lot of women blame themselves as well. Especially when it's a case of the guy's been asking them to do it for 2 hours and have said no until they do it. Because then at that women, the women's chose to do it, but you know, it's at that point it's barely consensual. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of grey areas as well, and you know, people always ask for statistics. Statistics will never ever be correct ever, because it's something like 20% of women have been raped or something, and that's like an official statistic. I'm like, well, all the people I know that have been raped are not in that statistic, so how many other ones are there? Like,
probably a lot more than
I would go as far to say, you know, virtually every girl I know has been assaulted in some sense of the way. Whether the thing is, a lot of men don't know they're doing it, which is why we need to have the conversation of consent. So I think a lot of men get defensive as well, because they're feeling this guilt, because they know, they're thinking, all right, that happened in high school, that's happened in high school, blah blah blah. We've all been to a party, do you know what I mean? And everybody has known something's happened, but it's just kind of been brushed under the rug. Do you know what I mean? Like that like, I can. There's countless times where it's like that was quite evidently a case of sexual assault that just happened there to that poor drunk girl. Do you know what I mean? But because the lads think it's alright, but it's not alright. Do you know what I mean? It's not alright. And
definitely not.
that I think consent is the main thing that people need to talk about when it comes to rape issues, 100%, because people don't understand it. People don't understand what it is, and there's such a grey area where people opens an opportunity for people to blame the woman, which is why so many people don't. The woman sometimes believes it was her fault. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's not, like.
There's so much to do about it. Like, it is
so much.
You know, I feel like we could talk about this for. You actually made a lot of good points here, though. Like, see, in terms of actually, because I wanted to talk about it, because obviously, the thing is as well, is when you're talking about something like this, you're like, I'm not a woman, so it's like you don't want to.
Yeah, like you need to be the one that's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what I was saying about like the only issue that I can't relate to being disabled, right? So when talking about disability, I need to listen to you. Do you know what I mean? Because no matter what, what's an issue with disabilities where, well, obviously there's saying slurs, right? So everybody's said a slur. Everybody has said a slur. Yeah. I know you've said a slur. Yeah. I've definitely said a slur. But see, now that people are talking about it, I don't anymore. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the issue is. The person who's not about needs to be the one that's listening, which is why I brought up racism, because that's the only time where I've actually been able to substitute something to understand it. Do you know what I mean? Yes. So I thought, this is nothing to do with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is nothing to do with white people or whatever else. Like, basically, I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not being racist, so what's it got to do with me? And it's like, but you're putting fuel in a fire. You're allowing it to burn by staying silent. Do you know what I mean? By not talking about it, by not understanding it, by not listening, which is, I think, the main thing, is by not listening to people, which is, I think, like, women get riled up as well. Like, why are men not listening? You're just speaking over us. So I think it's important for people to stop and listen. If whatever societal issue it is, if it's not your issue, then stop talking. Do you know what I mean? Listen. Yeah. Like, just because we're all guilty of it. And
it's kind of a lost thing just because of the fact that everybody's so, especially now, it seems like everybody really wants to tell their own story.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, the need to express yourself has become so big that the need to listen is
it's kind of been overlooked.
Yeah, but that's why these issues have become bigger.
Yeah, but why do you think, like, mental health is such a crisis? It's literally a crisis point, and obviously I can only speak for the UK, right? But crisis point for mental health is because the mental health services are just so underfunded. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that was actually a really good point that you just said about people want to express themselves and people are willing to express themselves, and we're having this conversation of talk about it. Like, are you alright, mate? Like, the actual turn around and say, no, I'm not. But you need to have the same balance of people listening. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need more mental health workers, or any type of crisis worker.
Exactly. There's, like, you know how we were talking about listening in different conversations, right? And what I really like about doing a podcast and doing this is that you're always, if you're able to listen, which I've gotten better at throughout it, and I've always been able to, like, the only reason why I'm in tune with how I feel about things is because I've been able to listen to how other people feel about things. So like, having conversations to where you take something out of it, you learn something from it. Yeah. And my kind of compliment was going to be that I feel like I've learned a lot from this conversation.
Oh, really? Oh, that's really nice. No, me too, actually. Do you know what? Listening is actually, I'm pure bad at listening, because I'm literally just chat. And I went to this coaching thing. It was a sort of seminar day where people who wanted to become a transformational life coach or something like that basically went to learn about the company and what it was and all that. And we were doing this wee activity, and basically the other person was to talk and we were to listen, right? And I was at the edge of my seat like I need to say something about what you were saying, I need to say something. But then the conclusion of it all was like, how much did we just learn about that person by listening? I think it was for 30 seconds or something, but it was we all had an issue. It was something like your career option or something you're passionate about. It was and this woman was passionate about yoga, and I was like like, honestly, like, was just itching to say something. But then I actually learned so much from shutting up. You do learn so much from shutting up, and not like I've learned that the hard way, because I have like people who know me know that I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid to say something. But now I feel like I've changed in a sense, whereas I'm not afraid to apologise now. Do you know what I mean? If I say something wrong, because I think it's just as bad as to be scared to speak than to speak and be scared to say you were wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%. Like that's so important for actually being able to be objective about things as well. You can't really be honest with yourself if you're not able to say, because I struggled with that a long time as well, where you just don't want to say sorry for things, and you can see that you've obviously got to a point where you're able to do all these things, and that's why.
Depends on the situation, obviously.
Yeah, well, true,
but nobody wants to say sorry. Do you know what I mean? Unless you've really hurt somebody, it is hard to say sorry. If you've hurt somebody, then I feel like naturally you do want to apologise. But if it's something that you didn't know you were wrong about and you've been corrected, then you don't. You're like, I'm not like this. I'm kind of.
Is there another solution to this?
Yeah. Is there something else? Can we come to another agreement? But I think people do struggle to just say sorry and shake hands about it.
No, but listen, I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, me too.
This is fun. Like, see, in terms of doing podcasts, this is one of the most fun ones I've done. So.
Oh, that's so fun. See, I feel like we've missed so much. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but this is the thing. This is my thing. We can do this whenever you want.
We should have a topic each time.
We'll see what the TikTokers say, and we'll come back and do another one.
See what the TikTokers say. Yeah, we'll come back and do another one. Yeah, that would be fun.
Because the invitation's always there if you have a fancy. Just if you
I get so scared about saying the wrong thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, see, when I was talking about racism there, I was shaking. Do you know what I mean? Just in case I say something wrong, because I don't want to be the villain. Do you know what I mean? But you need to understand, and especially with men, like, you need to understand that you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to understand that you are the villain. You need you need to recognise it to fix it, to help people, so that we can become one, have a more peaceful world.
Exactly. No, exactly.
It's us, bigger than numbers. Does that mean it's us against the enemy?
Well, bigger than numbers in the sense of like it's unity. It's been able to come together and be like.
See, I think they try and turn us at how can we fix the problem if we're fighting with each other? Do you know what I mean?
That's it, like divide and conquer and all that. And that's but that as much as old as saying that is, that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, 100%.
The political system.
Because I'm just going to sue.
Exactly. So it's like, you know what I mean.
Whole other podcast.
That's why I knew this would be good, because I knew that we kind of think about things in a similar sort of way, or there's nothing worse than talking to somebody that's very close.
Nothing you can't talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the most exciting thing. But is there anything you want to like mention there quickly before, like in terms of like where people can fit? What's your at in your page? It's Plantmore.
It's at Plantmore. Mother of plants. It's mostly food now, but I'm trying to change it up to be more lifestyle-y, which is why I took the vegan away. Like, I want to put more fashion in it and all that. I can't wait till the charity shops open. I want it to be more fashion-y type of stuff. We don't judge here.
Exactly. Well, keep an eye out for that, guys.
Yeah, we don't judge. And I'm also a bit of a TikTok sensation, but I'm a bit of a dafty on there, so.
Well, if you want to see,
I try to be more presentable on Instagram, because that's where the.
It's like where you do the reviews and stuff. But yeah, we'll call it there, and just before this camera runs out.
I know, before the camera runs out.